So to start with, we'll understand what are variables in Python. Okay. So Python is a high-level programming language, okay, known for its simplicity and readability. Like it's actually quite readable. Okay, so you'll start with the basics, wherein we'll learn about the variables and the data types first. Okay, now let's say that in maths, what is a variable? If in case a particular value is unknown, we assign it with a variable. Like we say x value, y value, and something like that. Okay. But in Python, a variable is nothing but it's like a container in order to store a particular value. Okay. Now the value or the data that we will be storing, it can be of types, like it can have its own type, right? Even in English being a language, we have numbers, punctuation marks, we have like alphabets. So all of these are data types. Likewise in Python also we have data types. Okay, so a value which is basically marked inside quotation, it can be a single quote or it can be a double quote. These values are called as a string value. Okay. Generally, when you want to write any text or like anything inside the quotation mark is being called as a string value. Okay. And the equals to sign. If you want to store a particular value inside a variable, the equals to sign is being used, and this equals to sign is also called as an assignment operator. In order, it's used in order to store a value. So in this case, let's say that what I'm doing is the 3 is my value. It's a right to left operation. Okay, 3 being my value equals to being the operator that I'm using, and it is being stored inside A. Okay, likewise over here, if you see hello being my value equals to being the operator, it's being stored inside A. Okay, so we have different kind of data types. Like we have integer, like if you talk about a numeric data type, we have integer, float, and complex. Float is nothing but decimal numbers. Okay. In maths also, right, we have complex numbers, integers, and decimal numbers. Likewise, we have here. Okay. We have Boolean values. Boolean values are nothing but it only has two values, true or false. Okay, a particular value can be true or it can be false. Other than that, we also have string values. As I mentioned, anything that will be written inside the quotation mark will be considered as a string value. Okay, now moving on to, let's move ahead and let's learn the basic operations of loading the data in a particular variable. Okay, while you are naming a variable, there is like some good practices that we follow. Okay. The good practices are a variable name that you're trying to give. It should actually show the kind of data that you're storing. Okay, it's a good practice. Not that कि आप कोई भी variable का नाम नहीं दे सकते हो, but the good practice is because just think. Okay, I'm writing a piece of code. In future, my piece of code will be read by you. Okay, you are going to perform further tasks on my code. Okay, agar, if in case I have a variable called as max, okay, is equal to, I will say, okay, and I have another variable, let's say name is equal to Ekta. Okay, so which one variable is basically showing you the nature of the value it is storing? Name or max?
Name.
Name, right? So this is the reason when you name a particular variable, try to name doing the nomenclature in a way that it shows you the kind of data or the value that you're storing. Okay, it's a good practice. Or else आप xyz भी अपना variable का नाम दे सकते हो. Now to begin with, storing a value inside a variable is a very easy operation. You assign a name. Let's say my x is my variable. I use the assignment operator, and let's say that I want to store a value called as 3. Okay, so this 3, I can check the type of it. Type function will help me to understand the data type of the variable that it is storing, the value it is storing, right? Its data type, it will help me to find. So I stored an integer. This int is confirming that the value is an integer. Now, whenever I print x, right, wherever I print x, I will get the value as 3 because that is my variable which is acting like a container to store my value 3. Okay. Now, let's say I store the value x is equal to quotation, or maybe I mean another variable xy is equal to quotation 2. Can you guess the data type of this now?
String.
What will be the data type?
Uh, uh,
Integer only, ma'am.
No. Whenever, even if you're storing an integer inside a quotation mark, okay, it will consider it as a string value only. So anything denoted with a quotation mark will be considered as a string value. Okay, so it can be a plain text, it can be a punctuation mark, it can be anything. Okay, so the quotation mark, single or double quotation mark, simply denotes a string value. Okay, now let's say I have stored z is equal to 3.0. What do you think the value is?
float.
Exactly. Even though the decimal is basically 0, like after the point I have only 0 value, but still it's a float because there is a decimal point. Okay, so that's how the different data types we have. Now, the Boolean value which we spoke about, okay, let's say that I have a variable v is equal to true. The Boolean value, true and false, these are two values which will not be given inside a quotation mark. If you put it inside a quotation mark, it will consider it as a string value. So if you see, the type of v is bool. Okay, bools denotes Boolean value. Okay, so true and false will not be given in quotation mark. If it, I would have written it inside a quotation mark, it will consider it as a Boolean, sorry, string value. Okay, now one thing good about like Python is that it allows you to assign values like directly. You don't have to define that this is my variable, this is the value that it has to store. So let's say that if I write in a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 5 and again a is equal to 8. Now can you tell me what will be the value inside a?
8.
Exactly. It will override it. Okay, you don't have to like erase or delete it, it will directly override it. Okay, because the last value that I have stored, that will be the current value which is inside that particular variable. Okay, so to view the output, either you can directly print the value, okay, or else you can use the print function to check the value. Okay, so print function will also help you to get the value as an output. Okay, so let's say that over here, if I try to print B and A without using the print function, right, the output that I will get is only 8. Okay. So without the print function, only the last variable will be printed as an output. If you want to print the variables before it, you have to put it inside the print function.